This video is for the Earth Cry analysis for the Unit 3 Music Style and Composition Outcome 2B Organisation and Context. This video is part 2 of 2. Just to recap on the instrumentation, here is a list of the instruments that are used in Peter Sculthorpe's Earth Cry. Also, to recap on the structure, it's advised that you pause the video here and reread the information that we presented in the last video that outlines the different sections and particularly their tempos, which help to identify each section. We're going to start this analysis where the last analysis finished, and it was where we talked about the end of section B, the interlude returns. Remember that there was a strong sense of repetition of the tone colours from section B2, however the main melody had been removed. The interlude was designed as a transition to move from the craziness of section B into something a little new and a bit more stable. There was a repeat or a return to the 9/16 time signature, which gave us the rhythmic phrasings of three groups of three semiquavers, which contrasted the 12/16 time signature from section B2. And the bongos are the highlight that the transition into the third section has begun, with a huge dynamic crescendo, which is an increase in volume, and a molto rallentando, to dramatically slow down or to decrease in tempo. And it looks like this inside. Section C. This is identified by rehearsal mark 12 or bar 149 in the score. The woodwinds are moving in octave, which reflects the violin melodic contour. Counter melodies in the horns are fluid and rhythmically consonant. Brass and lower strings form harmonic accompaniment. And this is the closest thing that we have seen to a tonal melody thus far in the composition. And another point that's worth raising is this is the first time that the orchestra is moving as one entire unit. There is unity. The melody for this section is shown below. It takes the basis from the melodic element presented in B, however there are some rhythmic variations. The melodic phrasing is 2 bars long, contrasting the phrase lengths of the previous section, as I just showed you. The rhythmic values and flow is much more even and balanced, contrasting the melodic phrases in section B, and the melodic tonality seems to be based around an aharmonic minor scale. There is a contrast in the way the dynamics are used in the melodic line, starting from forte, crescendo to fortissimo, then decrescendo or diminuendo to pianissimo. Section D, a return to section A material. This is identified as rehearsal mark 14, or bar 167 in the score. There's a return to the original key, signature, and the viola and trombones carry the melody. The tempo is slightly slower than the original section A, which is a slight variation. But the texture is thicker, with the orchestral instruments playing a bigger role and being more involved in the harmonic and melodic ideas. There's a return to the original key signature, and the viola and trombone carry the melody, as shown here. There is repetition of the timpani accents at the beginning of the phrases, again. There's a slight variation on the 5-note melodic phrase, as its range is reduced, and it replaces the high G with a high D. And here is the comparison. That's the excerpt from section A, so you can see that there's a difference in the contour. And then section D, or the coda. The melody moves into the violins, revisiting and varying original melodic ideas and introducing the coda. You can see the melody here. Horns and violas have a 4-note ascending motif or motive. The repeated melodic phrases indicate the start of the coda and the movement towards the end of the piece. Open chords and long rhythms contrast early rhythmic phrases and harmonic presentation. Steady common time or a 4/4 tempo. The timpani now highlights pulses 1 and 3 in an even, predictable fashion, contrasting its earlier function. And a descending melodic contour contrasts the generally ascending contour of the melodies in section A. Before we move on, I just want to explore the idea of an open chord. It was the first point that I raised with this section of the video. What is an open chord? An open chord is where you take the notes of a triad or a seventh or an altered chord, and instead of presenting them in a 1, 3, 5, 7 stacked approach, you spread them over the whole range of the instruments that are playing that chord, and you don't necessarily present them in an order. So instead of having what's known as a block chord, 1, 3, 5, 7, or putting the notes in order, you actually spread them out, you alter the orders to really explore a variation in tone color of the way that the chord is presented. The percussion, the tam-tam particularly, its role signals the run into the final melodic dissonance provided by the trumpets. And the final chord, which is a D flat major 7 omitting the 3, meaning that we are removing the 3, is presented once again as an open chord, which is spreading across the entire orchestra and is used to resolve the final trumpet tension. This is a very consonant way to finish a piece that has spent a lot of time exploring dissonance. And the dynamic diminuendo, or decrescendo, to the pianissimo, or PP, to fade away to the end, contrasts the brash nature of the presentation of the music previously. We almost expect this to finish in the same fashion that it ran, but it doesn't. I think you get the idea. So this is the end of our analysis, flipped classroom session. And of course, feel free to rewatch this analysis as many times you need to, especially as revision, so that you understand the concepts that we are going to cover in our class discussion of this piece, and also so that you're prepared for your upcoming assessments. Remember, don't forget to bring your notes and the questions that you had from this and the first video into class so that we can build on this knowledge as part of our analysis to prepare for outcome 2. Thanks for watching.